I reviewed an informed consent form from a counselor named Michael J. Lanella at a private practice called North Carolina Family Therapy Center, which is located in Raleigh, North Carolina. The consent form was broken up into 12 sections, which included a welcome section, the process of therapy, additional treatment and services, ending therapy, payment and fees, cancellation and late arrival, overdue payment, insurance, communication between sessions, teletherapy, emergencies, and litigation limitation. My first impression of Jalanella's informed consent was that it was actually very concise, which at first glance made me question whether or not it included all the important aspects that it should. I will start this discussion by first addressing the aspects of Jalanella's informed consent that are included also in the ACA Code of Ethics. Jalanella's informed consent included a section that addressed any counseling methods or strategies used in the counseling setting must be explained to the client. This section in his informed consent form also described in brief the general scope of counseling and what is to be expected to the client. This is in line with Section A2B in the ACA Code of Ethics that states that all counseling services must be explained to the client. Jalanella's informed consent also stated that if he is not able to provide adequate service to help the client or does not have the ability or skill set to help, then he must end the counseling relationship. This expectation is stated in Section A11A of the ACA Code of Ethics that states that counselors should not engage or they should end counseling relationships that they are not equipped to assist. Payment, billing, and insurance requirements and details were also stated in Jalanella's informed consent, which is in line with Section A2B of the ACA Code of Ethics that states that fees and billing information must be disclosed to the client. And so those are all the ways that his informed consent form related to the ACA Code of Ethics, but there was one area specifically that wasn't mentioned in Jalanella's informed consent that I was surprised by, and that is the area of confidentiality. Having a counselor-client confidentiality was something that wasn't explicitly stated in Jalanella's informed consent, and that is a huge aspect of counseling that is essential to the counseling relationship with the client. And so in Section A2B of the ACA Code of Ethics, it states that clients have the right to confidentiality and what that entails. And so in my opinion, there should be a section in a counselor's informed consent form that is dedicated solely to confidentiality. In regards to the North Carolina Board, there wasn't actually anything specific that was stated on their rules and laws that applied to what is required of a counselor's informed consent form. The North Carolina Board just stated the requirements for licensure and being able to practice counseling. And so in Jalanella's informed consent form, it is stated that he has his LMFT, and so he has obtained his licensure and he is able to practice counseling in North Carolina. The last aspect of Jalanella's informed consent that I would like to address is his litigation limitation section that states that he will not testify in court or release any therapy records in regard to any legal matters. In the ACA Code of Ethics, it doesn't explicitly state whether or not counselors are able to refuse court or refuse releasing therapy records. It just states that counselors are to be honest and objective in their communication with third parties, such as a court, which that is stated in Section C6B, and that counselors obtain client permission before releasing any records, which is stated in Sections B to D. And so information found in Hendricks and Natwick 2019 says that counselors are not able to refuse to testify, even if they find it uncomfortable and do not wish to do it. The only way stated in Hendricks and Natwick 2019 for counselors to refuse to testify is that if what they are asked to testify about is outside of their training or does not align with the ACA Code of Ethics. And so I just found that section in Jalanella's informed consent form interesting and wanted to do further research.